Hi, I'm Siobhan McDonald from Granger Street Studios. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is our second video in our Art for All series, and I'm glad you're here with me to celebrate the fact that spring has sprung. We are going to look at a painting from the 18th century, a beautiful floral painting from a Netherlandish artist. And then we'll follow that with a picture of my mom as a girl in her garden. And hopefully you'll get to tell me a little bit about your experience with gardens. Let's get started. I'm using this book today, Looking at Pictures, an introduction to art for young people. Or as I like to say, young at heart people. I own a lot of books that were written for young people. Part of the reason is that I was a public school teacher for many years, but I also found myself buying books written specifically for young people after I left teaching young people. The image quality is generally very high. And I also like how accessible the language is. So let's take a look at our painting today. Oh, the magic of video. We're looking at a painting by Jan van Oos, who lived from 1744 until 1808. He was a Dutch artist. And the painting is titled Fruit and Flowers in a Terracotta Vase. Wow, this painting is so realistic that it feels like I could take one of these grapes, pick it, and pop it into my mouth. It would be so easy to rub the bloom right off of this plum, feel the softness of these petals, or prick myself on one of these thorns in the rose. The painting of each fruit and flower is as accurate as Van Oos could make it. Yet the painting is an imaginary creation. The fruits and flowers shown here appear at different times of the year and could never be seen all together. Tulips belong to the spring, rose hips to the autumn. Everything is natural, but nothing is wild. These perfect specimens were the result of good gardening. In Holland, where this picture was painted, pineapples were an exotic luxury, grown in a hothouse at vast expense. Van Oos arranged the fruit and flowers very cleverly in this painting to make it as beautiful as possible. In real life, such an arrangement could not exist. Look at the pineapple. It leads your eye into this top corner, but no flower arranger could ever keep it perched up there. Ancient buildings in the background add to the grand effect. Perhaps you can see them. It looks like they're shrouded in fog. The whole idea here is to celebrate the cultivation of nature and the wonder of what can be achieved with paint. In a moment, I'm going to show you a detail of the date. Van Oos is pointing out that he had to spread this work over 2 years to catch all of these fruits and flowers in season. Perhaps he started it in the summer and finished it the following spring. From 1777 to 1778 is when he worked on this. And like many Dutch artists at the time, he was fascinated by the details of life. The whole idea here is to celebrate nature. He probably had several paintings like this on the go at once, working on them in turn. Now let's take a look at the detail of this date. Here's that detail I promised you. along with this most charming dragonfly that Van O's added right next to his name. There are other details in this painting that can be seen here. The beautiful plum and a little tiny mouse nibbling on the contents of a walnut. This painting is so fun to look at. There's lots to talk about. But let's take a look at another garden picture. Here's my mom, who was known as Hilda Oliveira when this photo was taken, sometime in the early 1950s. She's a young teenager in this picture. This is one of the images from my book, Hilda's Story, New Bedford, Massachusetts. Hilda's in her garden in this picture. She lived in New Bedford, in the city. Her yard was very small, but like many Portuguese immigrant families, you can see that it was packed with flowers and plants. My vovó, that means grandma in Portuguese, she was quite a gardener. We always said she had a green thumb. And we used to joke that if vovó was peeling potatoes and threw those peelings out the window, we'd be able to harvest potatoes the next week. I love the expression of Hilda's face in this picture. Such a beautiful teenage combination of hopefulness, a little bit of sullenness mixed in, perhaps pride at the beautiful clothes she's wearing. Boy, would I love to have that skirt now. And how about this little brown jug down here? How many of you had one of those at home? Did you have one? Wonderful. I'd like to point out some of the flowers that are growing back here. My grandmother was known for her beautiful roses and hydrangeas. They filled the backyard. The roses climbed up this fence and the hydrangeas lined the other side of her house. She had blue and purple and pink hydrangea. And all along the edge of her driveway, were my favorites. Little white bells of lily of the valley. When I visited in the summertime and those were in bloom, the fragrance would just fill the air. Did you have a flower garden? What kind of flowers did you have? Did you help in your garden when you were a girl or a boy? My mother, Hilda, also recalls that this garden that they had, the vegetable garden, was called a victory garden, and every family had one, she said. Did you have a vegetable garden growing up? A lot of you are nodding your heads. What did you grow in your vegetable garden? Most of my mom's neighborhood was filled with Portuguese immigrants, like her own mom was. They grew kale, which was very popular, to use in kale soup that they ate several times a week. Lots of peppers, tomatoes, sometimes in pots, green onions, potatoes, and other veggies too. Did you grow any of those? Did anyone grow squash or zucchini? When she was a girl, Hilda had the chore of helping to weed the garden. Did you have to weed your garden? Was that a chore that you enjoyed? Before I started talking to you today, I popped outside. And I want you to know that spring has sprung. I found this right outside my door. A crocus. They're very hopeful, aren't they? And beautiful. You know, so many of us are staying inside right now, and this is a good thing. But we miss our family and our friends. I want you to know that I miss being able to see you in person, but I'm glad you're staying safe. And I'm glad that spring is happening right outside our doors. Things are popping up and growing, and there is beauty in the world. Thanks for being with me today. I hope I get to see you again soon. Have a great day.